Hi, and welcome to Real Trail Talk. I am Donovan D'Souza from The Long Ways Better.
And I'm Mark Pybus from The Life of Pi. Welcome to episode 38. Back by popular demand, we have Steve Sertis from the Bibbulmun Track Foundation. Welcome, Steve.
Hi, everyone. Great to be back.
And when I say popular demand, I mean just me and Donovan.
Yeah, always look forward to spending some time with Steve and talking about the bib.
Yeah.
It's always good to have fans in my lunchbox.
Yeah, because we're kind of running out of... This is the second to last Bibbulmun section we've got to cover. And if you haven't guessed by now or been following, we are doing Walpole to Denmark today. So this is one that I've not hiked, but you guys between you have a lot of experience. So I'll just be asking some questions and listening in.
And this will also be a pod with the return of Happy Don.
Yes.
Yes.
Steve says.
Because I love this section. You'll get very few complaints from me from this one.
Nice.
Yeah. So Steve did send a very lengthy response email when we asked him what he thought of the last episode. Let's just say there's a few disagreements between Steve and Donovan's point of views. So we'll get moving and cracking. So Walpole as a track town, we've kind of discussed it in the last pod, but Steve, you run a lot of tours through there and spend a lot of time in Walpole. What are your thoughts on the town?
Yeah, I really like Walpole. It's quite different to other towns. It is small, but it's kind of unique. It's got something going for it. It's a nice coastal town. Great facilities for walkers. And I guess it's got that real history and connection with the track because it was the southern terminus for 10 years back in the 80s as well. So the locals are really great. They're really welcoming. Always like walking in or out of Walpole. Yeah, it's just something to it. It just feels like a track town.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, being encompassed by Walpole Nornalup National Park, it's such a diverse national park. It's not just forest or just coast. It's a bit of everything. It's a bit of inlet.
Absolutely.
And it's a very different environment.
And no matter which way you're coming in or out of it, it's not far to go before you're out of the bush. You're not walking through suburbs for a while. Yeah. So you're not kind of out of the bush already thinking, okay, where's the town? You kind of walk out of it and you're pretty much there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Although I think walking in from Franklin, the last bit on the really hard surface is not
on the dual use.
Yeah, it's not the most fun track to walk on if you're already fatigued.
Yeah, I've had to jog that because I think we're going to miss our bus or something. We had to run into the last. Yeah, so that wasn't much fun. But anyway, yeah.
Okay, so we'll start from that first day, obviously heading in a north to south direction, and the first campsite is Franklin River. So heading out of town, we've already mentioned this dual-use path. It's not very entertaining and kind of, it doesn't look that great in the photos either.
It basically is there because it hooks up the town with the Common Beach and the caravan park that's out there. So that's why it's a dual use, I guess. It's for that purpose. I guess the other thing I will say about the journey out of town is that we realigned it not that long ago. I kind of was over the fact that when it came in from Mount Clare, it never actually went to the visitor centre or the centre of town per se. It used to divert you off past the pub and then round the inlet, which is lovely, but very few people used to walk it because they were coming into town going, I'm here, this is it. Yep. So, and because the visitor centre itself was the southern terminus, it's just a focal point too, So that realignment, I had that on the cards when I redid the guidebooks. And I remember walking to town. I thought, I'm just going to walk straight to the visitor centre. I'm going to track this on the GPS, and then I'm going to put it to the department. And it happened. The only problem was that when I walked into town, they had the markets at the visitor centre there, and I had to go in between stores, and we had to clear up the tracking on that because I was doing all these zigzags getting in between the stores.
No, people have to walk like that. You have to zigzag to the centre.
I had walked past the pub. I didn't go to the pub. But look, other than that, it's so slightly been realigned a little bit coming out of town. But you've got to deal with that dual use pathway. Yeah. But even so, the in the spring particularly, the flowers along that section are quite good. But it doesn't go for too long, and then you're on the shores of the Nornalup Inlet.
Yeah, my particular feeling regarding these sort of things is I kind of discount that you're always going to run into problems in and out of town.
Yeah.
So it's not great, but it's not something where I think it's, a sackable offence.
It's not a Marin Road.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Glad you said that first. So we've got reached the Walpole Inlet, and the views out there are quite spectacular, especially if you get a nice flat day on the water.
The non-lap inlet, yeah, that's right. It's pretty. And yeah, a lot of people, I mean, speaking for myself too, for a long time, I didn't realise there are actually two separate inlets. I thought it was one big inlet. But yeah, it is pretty. You walk along the shores, there's a little lookout, I think, Delaney Lookout, I think it's called.
When the first time I did the section, I saw stingrays below, which was first day of doing the Bibbulmun Track as well.
Right.
So this was 2003.
Nice.
So this is
great
where
start.
Your lofty expectations of the track have come from.
That's right.
So from there we reached the Karri Forest, which is a kind of a big showcase of this area, and one that will be quite familiar for the next couple of days. It's up the hill, isn't it, to one of the lookouts again?
Yeah, so you cross the South Coast Highway for the first time, because you cross it twice on this section, and start ascending up to Hilltop Lookout. And that's your first kind of, it's steep in places. It's not too bad. I think there are other sections of the track which are steeper, like the other side of Walpole going up Mount Clare. But nice views from there. It's, I don't know. It's not expansive views, and in that it's not 360 or anything like that. You're basically facing the ocean and the coast, but still good views out to the coast.
Yeah, because you can actually drive to this spot. It's part of the touristy drive. I have been there. I was like, it's just a nice picture frame. Which works quite well, and you've got the inlet and the ocean.
Indeed.
Yeah, framed by the Karri trees, looks quite nice.
Yeah.
And I think on the way up to Hilltop Lookout, you've got a bit of a shared path there with the Mundabiddi too for a short distance.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
And then on from there, we reach Tingle Country again. So either side of Walpole has these lovely red tingles, and this is where you get to see quite a few up close again. And there's a giant fallen tingle right near the track that really gives you that sense of perspective.
Absolutely. It's one you can kind of crawl into. It's huge.
And it's such a classic photo op point. I think that probably of this particular day, it's probably one of the 3 or 4 most photographed probably moments.
Yep.
Along with the giant tingle itself.
Absolutely.
Which is, obviously I think a hugely iconic feature of this day.
So the Bibbulmun actually walks straight through. There's a 1 kilometre loop around that. So I remember seeing the signs when I've done it before. Yeah. And it's kind of a weird interaction if you're a through hiker to then see all these families and tourists just doing their little walk, and you've got your massive backpack on.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, probably not as bad as the treetop walk, but because there's more people there, I guess. But it's a nice spot. I think it's nicely done the way it is aligned to take in the giant tingle along the boardwalks there, and then make its way back up to the car park too. So it's a good access point as well. So and it's a good day walk to do one way back into Walpole if that's what you want to do, or even return for that matter. It's not particularly long.
And then, so it's not a short day, but it's not really a long day. It's 18 kilometres, and you kind of mixed Tingle Karri Forest, then leading down to the campsite. This is one of the most unique campsites.
It is
on the track, for one reason that it's a stilted, raised platform.
It is because it's so close to the river. Now, I've seen the river up pretty high. I've never seen the water under the shelter. But it's been designed for that, I guess. So not only is it up on stilts, but it's got a really nice decked area. So it's like, the decking in your backyard kind of thing. It's really, really cool.
And so this was the first Bibbulmun Track hut I ever stayed at as well. So it was, pretty spectacular and amazing to actually be at this, one of the best huts, and probably I think one of the best campsite locations on the track. I think it's a wonderful...
It is.
It'd be in my top 10 for sure, maybe top 5.
Yeah, it's one of the better ones, I think. It's certainly been voted up there in the various surveys we've done over the year with walkers, saying, which one's your favourite campsite. That definitely comes up. I think also, not just the campsite, but the walk to it, once you leave the giant Tingle Tree recreation area, it's, for me, it's quite a meditative walk too. There's quite a long section which is a narrow trail before it gets to one of the old vehicle tracks and follows that for a little while. And the way that meanders along there too is just really, it's one of those walks where I love, and when I lead walks on that, I say, right, everyone just take your time, spread out, no talking, just enjoy it, because the bird song's great, the wind through the trees because you're really high up. But even as you descend down that vehicle track, it doesn't feel like you're descending. It feels like the river's coming up to you. It's such a fabulous valley. It's that just to walk alongside of. Some good views too every now and then if you know where to look.
Yeah.
But
it's glimpses, but the glimpses are good.
Yeah, that's right. You've got to know when to turn right and look. You know, if you're too busy talking, you miss them. But yeah, and then of course the approach into Franklin, I quite like that. As long as the creeks aren't bursting there, I've had to walk through water there to get across that, but that's all right. But Franklin has been the site of a wedding in the early days, yeah. And my claim to fame, I had an interview there with Ernie Dingo, so I was going, oh yeah, that's where he sat, that's where I sat.
Nice.
What was that for?
That was for Great Outdoors, or one of those shows that he, with Channel 7 that he I don't think he still does, but yeah, so he did a whole South Coast focus. So Franklin was just one of the campsites. He was pretty tuckered out by the time he walked into that one, and he didn't walk in very far. But yeah, lovely campsite. Just watch out for the water rats, and I think, is it water rats or a possum there?
I can't remember.
It's
never encountered any.
It's one of the two, because I remember on the 10th anniversary walk when we stayed there, a couple of people had their packs chewed through. Yeah. So
you're meant to report the water rats, aren't you? If you ever see them.
Yeah, we never saw them. We just saw the evidence. But yeah, and also the other thing I know about Franklin campsite, particularly the toilet, was that when the track was first opened in 1998, when the first anniversary walkers, the official walkers came in, they were still putting the nails into the roof on the toilet. They were just finishing the campsite as the walkers arrived. So, phew.
Nice. So we'll move on to day 2. So this is another 18-kilometre day, and moving from Franklin River to Giants.
Yeah.
Which gets its name, I'm assuming, from the treetop walk, Valley of the Giants.
Yeah, that's right.
So how does this day start out, Don?
Yeah, so look, so the first time I did this was my second day of walking a multi-day ever. And we completely stuffed up our calculations of how far we'd walked. And there were a lot of streams, and we weren't sure how many of these were bridges. When they said bridges, a plank over a stream, is that a bridge?
Yeah.
Maybe. And then when we got to the actual bridge over the Franklin River, we went, oh,
this is a bridge.
we have really not calculated very well. So I had lost a water bottle on the first day near the fallen Tingle. So I was down to one water bottle, and I'd drunk most of that water bottle by that stage, and had to fill up from the river, which wasn't great. Very tannic.
Very.
A little on the slimy side. I put some tablets in there. I didn't get sick.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you that I was so glad when we got to Giants by the end of it. However, I will say I'm really glad that I've been to this part of the track 3 times. First time was back in 2003, but recently, last year, I was very disappointed to see that the bridge had been replaced with concrete.
Okay, so
explain yourself.
Who, me? I actually didn't know it was happening until it was closed, and I thought, "What's happening there? They're doing some work on it." So, a couple of things. I'll just take a step back. This particular day, and I can't remember the distances, but it was incorrect by a long way in the old books, on the old maps. Yeah. And it was one of these days where I'd get to Giants and I'd be really tired, and it take me longer than what I'd think it would.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, why all of a sudden didn't I eat dinner last night, or didn't have breakfast, or what's going on? Yeah. And when we redid it, we actually found out it was like 3 kilometres longer than what, about 3 kilometres longer, or almost 4. Than what the original book said. And so, but also there's a lot of ups and downs that particular day that you don't really notice, but there's quite a few
and
of them.
It's quite a slow, continuous up from the campsite.
It is,
and you don't notice how tired you are.
Yeah,
until
absolutely.
you get over it.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, so Sappers Bridge, which is about 2 k's from the Franklin campsite, was so we've got I think it's version 3 now that's there, because it got washed away in 84, I think it was.
Yep.
1982, sorry. And then it was replaced just recently. I think it was 2017.
Yeah, because it was still there when we did this as part of a sectional in 2015 or 16, and it definitely was still there.
Yeah. So the problems with it was that it was deteriorating. I know that in 2013 when we did the 10th anniversary walk, they closed it because it actually had some structural damage because of the force of the water, and you could actually see one of the, I'm not an engineer, so I'm not sure what it's called, but the big logs underneath that holds it up, that thing had actually started to crack. So yeah, they had to do a bit of work not long after that, but then I think they just went, right, we need fire access here. So because they closed it to vehicles for a while, and then they put the railings on when the Mundibidi used it. But then it was no vehicles at all, so I think they replaced it with the concrete structure.
It's a charming structure, so beautiful.
Yeah.
So it's not like the ones at John Forest National Park where they've made the concrete slabs look like old boards?
No.
I can't say I've seen them, but no.
It looks a lot like, you would know, the bridge that's now near Southampton. The Southampton Bridge.
Oh, yeah.
It's a bit like that.
Yeah.
Not as long. But
that was disappointing. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. So, but I've always loved crossing Sappers Bridge, no matter what the bridge is made out of. I mean, good views up and down the river.
Yeah.
But then that sign, just slightly up the hill at the T-junction, I don't know if you recall.
Brainy Cutoff?
That's the one.
Yeah.
I've never been able to work out why they call that road Brainy Cutoff. It's like, lobotomies happen here? What is it?
Maybe there's like a deeper meaning to it. Like you just have to shut off your brain as you're going through this bit of the forest.
Maybe.
But I think it's quite easy to do in this forest. Like I find in some sections of the track, when it's repetitive, I can't really feel meditative and happy. But in this Tingle Carry mix, I just feel at home.
Yeah, it is. But I will say also, there's a bit of mixed forest through even that section there, as I recall. There's a little bit of Jarrah, and between Franklin and Sappers Bridge, you go through a bit of a stunted Jarrah forest. There's king ear there as well, which are absolutely amazing. Yeah. Snotty gobbles, like you just kind of step out of the carry just for a minute second, then you're back into it again later.
I'm surprised you haven't mentioned this before.
It's mercifully short. But the thing is, it's okay. So I feel like, as you say, it's just a little step out, and that's kind of cool because it's a bit of variety.
Yeah, I think it's good. Yeah.
Whereas if it had been that for 10Ks, we'd have a different story to tell.
Okay, and for that story, listen to the previous podcast. So when you went through here on your, not last section, but when you did your 3-day trip, there was a giant tingle had fallen over the track when it wasn't meant to be.
That was really cool. Now, so you guys have cut through that, haven't you? Like some steps or something?
I think so. It's been. I haven't actually. I don't think I've been to it since. Yes, I must have. Was it after Sappers Bridge?
It's after Sappers.
Yeah, I haven't been to it since it was cut.
But it was so cool because we had to kind of figure out what we were going to do. It was, this tree's far taller than us, so we couldn't just climb over it. We had to go around, and I walked along the tree, and I really like when things like that happen. Like it happened to us when we did the Donnelly River to Pemberton section. There were trees that just fallen over the track, and we had to climb up and around. So, I quite embrace this sort of adventure. There's a fallen tree across the track.
As long as it's one or two.
Yeah.
I've experienced it a lot more. It's like, again.
But it's not every day that you get to climb over a tingle.
True.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, they're pretty unique and pretty massive trees.
Yeah.
I'm sure they've already dealt with it, but when I was doing the prep for the podcast, I was thinking, right, wouldn't it be great if you could just carve out steps over that and just leave it there, rather than what they do is they chop it all up and move it off? And seeing that could be cool. And you put like chicken wire down and then supports. It could be like boarding house bridge almost.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it also depends on the district, because sometimes they still do that in certain districts. Something like the Donnelly district further north, they'll want their quad bikes to be able to go through, so they'll cut it through because they use it as fire access as well. But yeah, I'm still seeing it happening. I still see the guys out there with their chainsaws cutting steps into large fallen trees, which it's working with what you've got. So I think that's great. Yeah.
And then from there we move into a very popular tourist area.
Absolutely.
Valley of the Giants. So if you've ever done a trip down to Walpole, chances are you visited the Treetop Walk and the Ancient Empire Walk, I think it is. Yeah. So Steve, you'll be able to fill us in. Did the track always align here?
Well, since the track was extended to Albany, yes.
Yeah,
okay. That's right.
So was the decision made to put it past this destination?
Yeah. So the Treetop Walk was established in the 90s. Before the Bib track went through, and so because it was there, it was like, this is a really great attraction, let's bring other people, because we knew back then that people from outside Australia or outside WA anyway would be walking the track, so it's a great attraction to bring people to, a good way to showcase the area as well. I think it's got its pros and cons. Again, if you're a through hiker, particularly coming from the other direction, you haven't seen that many people for a while. And I do recall, I don't know if you've read any of the entries in the books by Fat Chick. Fat Chick Goes AWOL. That's how she used to sign her name. She would talk about, and she's written a book as well, and I recently read that, but she would talk about it as the full-on assault by car people. and that can be true. I mean, depends, if it's peak season when you're walking through there and the big coaches are pulling up. When I did my first through end to end, there's a little picnic area before you get to it. It's like near the overflow car park that a lot of people don't know about, well, the car people don't know about. And I usually have a break there because it's a little bit quieter and you know. But this particular time, so I'd been there a few times before, but this particular day when I rocked up, there was a big family. They were Italians, and they had so much food. And it was before I was vegetarian too. So
lovely. Lots of antipasto.
Plenty to eat and share my stories, because I'd come from Kalamunda at that point. So they were very interested in hearing my stories. But yeah, got plenty of it. But I was only a day out of Walpole. So I wasn't starving or anything. But then you progress from there up to the Treetop Walk, and some people do stop off, drop their packs and go do it. I think that if you're just passing through the area, I mean, I always love doing the Treetop Walk itself. I always say to people though, if you're pressed for time, it's getting late in the day, and you need to get to the campsite, don't stress that you haven't done the Ancient Empire Walk, because the walk along the Bib through there is just as good. So yeah.
Both of the times I've done this section were in summer.
Right.
And it was really hot, so it was really good to have ice creams. And if you're with friends who are novice hikers, as I was as well, but I did have a hat. But if you're a novice hiker and you haven't got a hat, then it's great to buy a really crappy souvenir hat just to get you through.
Or a head sock or whatever else they got
Which was the case for one of my friends.
Right. Yeah. But definitely the ice creams or the Mars bar or whatever.
Yeah. I can picture Don getting like the gift shop and just being like, it's all right, I'm not a novice, I have a hat.
I definitely was a novice, but I was at least a semi-planned novice.
Yeah, got a hat, but I don't have my other water bottle.
Exactly. Priorities, mate.
Why did you not? Did you buy a water bottle there? Could you?
So, okay, no, I didn't. So what happened was, when we stayed at Franklin, there was a school group there that we forced to vacate the hut. And one of the kids left. Yeah, because the teacher said, "Oh, do you want us to move?" We said, "Oh, if you give us some space in the corner, we'll be fine." And they said, "No, we'll get them out." So all the kids left, and you just hear this, this collective groan. But one of the kids left some water behind in a bottle, so I took their bottle.
Stealing from children.
No, they were littering. They left it behind because we left after them, and they had left it behind.
Oh yeah. Well, it makes you sleep easy at night.
Yeah, exactly.
Were you going anywhere with that story?
Well, okay, so the water bottles I had as well, just to prove how much of a novice I was. They were water bottles that were canteens that hang from a belt that you wear around around your waist. And of course, if you have a backpack, it's pushing down on them, and that's why one of them fell off. So it may look like you're in the army, but it's a stupid thing to do. I'll say this was 16 years ago as well, so I have learned a lot since then.
This could
One
be
would
like,
hope.
Yeah, like the warning version of the Adventure Dawn action figure.
Just because it looks cool, don't do it.
Yeah.
Alright, so it's not terribly far from Valley of the Giants to Giants campsite. What's this campsite like compared to, let's say, Franklin? Is it comparable, or is it kind of a bit of a letdown?
Bit of apples and oranges, really. It's, you're not by the river, so you don't have that scenery, or the you can't hear the flow of the water either. But it's surrounded by tingles. It's a little bit more, I don't know, in my mind, a bit more, what's the word, scrappy? Do you know what I mean? The bush is a bit more, I still like it. I guess, I think I've said on previous podcasts, the thing that makes the sections of the track or campsites is the experience I have there. So my memory of those places are, what happened to me there, or who I met there, or, those kinds of things, rather than the actual site itself. I mean, the site's got something to do with it as well. But, I've got a lot of good memories of Giants for various reasons. But the walk there is pretty easy. You follow a little boardwalk to start with, and then it's a descent. It gets a bit steeper towards the end as you approach it. One thing I do remember that stands out, I'll never forget this. I think on the same walk, my first end to end, and I was, it was dusk and I was already bedded down, and I thought I was hearing things, but I could hear cows. And I was thinking, what? Am I really here? No, I'm not. And then,
was this before or after you were vegetarian?
It was after all that food the Italians gave me.
They were haunting you, Steve.
But then I looked at my map and I'm thinking, there's private property just over there.
Yeah.
It's not very far. And, because the bush is pretty thick, you don't realise it. But, I'll never forget just lying there listening to cows. So, right, okay, I'm not alone.
I think I think this particular campsite's not quite as nice as Mount Clare, if you're talking about Tingle Forest.
Yeah, sure.
But I think also, to put it into perspective as well, is that Tingles are amazing trees, and there's so many of them along the walk in and at the campsite. So, you can be picky and say, oh yeah, but Mount Clare's better, but it's still amazing.
Yeah.
So I would say that, yes, if you were to be, really trying to judge the campsites, then yes, Mount Clare's a better one, but it's still a nice campsite.
I think also, if you're thinking about it, it's your last night in the Tingle.
Yeah.
If you're heading to Albany, it's the last
true.
campsite that's based in it, in the Tingle Forest. So I guess there's that as well. There's a little bit of walking the next day through it, but it's a nice enough campsite. I guess the other thing for me was, again, on the 10th anniversary walk, was when a tingle fell on it. Not while we were there, but as we were walking towards it. And I think
on the hut?
Yeah, on the shelter. It crashed down. The crown hit it. I think, was it actually the trunk? I'm trying to remember now. Anyway, it wrecked it. I've got a photo of myself not observing any OH&S stuff, sitting underneath it at the table, because you could get in, and everything's collapsed around. I've got my umbrella up, just sitting at the table. But yeah, we got message, I think, because we were coming the other direction when we were at Conspicuous, and the ranger basically said, can't stay there. We walked through it because the track was fine. But, and this is comes back to what I was saying about the Walpole community. They all kind of got together and met us at the Treetop Walk, and they ferried us to the Tingledale Tennis Club hall, where we spent the night, and then ferried us back onto the track the next day. Yeah. So they all came together, and we had a big convoy out, and it was really good. It's a noisy night, I've got to say. I don't know if people say it's great to have tents because then you're away from the snorers. And that's probably, it is true. And I do remember being in that hall, and it was very noisy that night. And I remember leaving the hall and going to the next room, to the kitchen, and that wasn't still enough, and I locked myself in the pantry. And then the next morning when I got up, I came out of the pantry, opened the door, and in the kitchen there was all these other people spread around the place.
Nice.
But yeah, so again, it's the memories
Yeah.
of the different places.
We didn't have a tree fall on us, but Alyssa's brother and his partner were with us, and a cockroach fell on him in the middle of the night.
And were there screams?
he was really calm about it.
Wow.
So his girlfriend Kelsey was like, I think a cockroach just fell on you, and he was like, oh, okay. And Alyssa and I were both saying that would not have been us if that happened.
Yeah, right. There you go.
One thing I've been wanting to ask you for a while, Steve, is the Nornalup style, which a lot of these southern shelters are in. Was that named and they were built when the track got extended down to Albany? Is that where they come from?
Yeah, they didn't exist before the track was extended beyond Walpole. So that part of it is certainly true. Where the name actually came from, whether it was because the first one was built around somewhere near the Nornalup Inlet or the Nornalup National Park, maybe, I'm not entirely sure where the name comes from. I would say that's pretty close to it, the reason for it. I know that the design itself, though, it was modelled on a shelter which had already been built, as in like a gazebo type picnic shelter. I have a feeling it was actually up at the Forest Heritage Centre in Dwellingup.
Okay.
The gazebo at the training centre there had that self-supporting roof style. So that style was modelled on that. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But I think that's where the design came from. But yeah, probably because it was in the Nornalup National Park.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Do you know the reason why they decided to build a different style at that point of the track?
I think the weather had a big part to play in that. So it was a shelter where it was square rather than rectangle. And I think the idea of the self-supporting roof made it stronger as well. Yeah, to withstand the winds. That's as far as I know, that was the idea behind that one. And that's why they didn't go with the Deep Souths or the other ones. Having said that, the very first Hidden Valley campsite had a standard like Ball Creek.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But it was very well protected, hence Hidden Valley, right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Cool. Well, for keen listeners, stay tuned in another week and we'll be talking more about campsites. But for now, we'll move on to day 3. Giants to Ream Head, and this is, you're exiting the thick forest and you're getting into more the coastal scenery that this section is famous for, you'd say, Don?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, this day is very much a transition day, and you start walking through the last of the tingles, and then it slowly starts to fade to coastal heath and some massive dunes that if it's your first time hiking a multi-day and it's delayed onset muscle strains kicked in, it's pretty strenuous.
Absolutely. Yeah, there is, before you cross the highway for the second time though, before you leave the Carry Tingle Forest, there is one particular tingle which I love walking past there, and if you're walking north-south, if you don't turn around and look over your right shoulder, you'll miss it. But we call it the Pleated Princess, and because it's one of the few tingles that you pass on the track which hasn't been hollowed out or burnt out, it's still intact, and it's massive. It's called the Pleated Princess because of the way the bark swells and comes down.
I know the one you talk about. Yeah.
So it's just one of the another magnificent tingle tree. But yeah, that's a good one. And then of course you descend down to the highway and you cross and you join the Nornalup Rail Trail. There's a Mark's sighting there, and then you'll follow that for a little while. And then yeah, like you say, get into the coastal heath and the dunes. Yeah, I think you get your first view of Peaceful Bay at Nut Lookout as well. Yeah.
Both of the times I've walked this, it was really hot, so
it was pretty open and exposed.
It was pretty
out
open,
of the forest.
But it is nice when you get to the dunes, because it is surprising how you kind of drop down into this dunes, and then there's the tire steps up out of them, and I think there's less tyre steps than I remember them being in 2003.
Yeah, a lot of it's changed there, particularly further along on this section to Denmark. The tyres have been removed. In that section, after you cross Fickerfolia Road, there's a few sections there where actually you drop right down, like you say, but they're steps now, they're wooden steps.
Yeah.
And I've actually had inundation in there as well. It's rained so much that, it's been quite a bit of water around through there. Yeah. But yeah, it's the transition section, like you say. You go through out of the Carry, out of the Tingles. You actually go through a lot of bullich and peppermints as well on your way to Conspicuous.
We should talk about Fickerfolia as well.
We should talk about Fickerfolia because that's an outstanding section if they're flowering.
You're speaking double Dutch to me. I'm sure I'll understand in August when I walk through.
The red gums.
Okay.
The red flowering gums.
Okay.
Yeah. Beautiful trees. I think they're one of the most stunning of the gums.
Corymbia Fickerfolia. Yeah. So, and that's where they come from. They're exported all over the world. They come from that area.
I've seen them in Melbourne on the roadside, ornamental trees.
Yeah, and I know they've been hybridized a lot with the Marys. So you get the different variations in the colour. So it's not just the deep reds, you get the pinks as well.
There's some just on the road here near in Murdoch. There's some pink ones with some red ones.
Yes. Yep. That's right. Absolutely. But yeah, stunning tree. And they don't just flower in summer. You will find them flowering, just out either side of summer as well. So you don't have to be walking through the heat to see them. But yeah, stunning trees.
Okay, and you mentioned Conspicuous Beach, so we'll probably have to get onto that. It's a popular access point where you started your
3-day that we did, and we started a second lot.
So if you're just coming in for the day, you can park at the car park and then walk down to Conspicuous Beach, and it does look like an impressive set of stairs leading down to the beach.
Yeah.
Stairs Mark II. The first one's got burnt by one of those getaway fires. Yep. But yeah, it is a very, very stylish boardwalk. It's not just your square kind of box steps, and it's kind of swirls around. There's seats along the way, and there's
got
also
lookouts.
Yep. Absolutely. And for walkers too, there's toilets there. There's water there as well. If you're running low, and a gazebo too. So there's a bit of cover before you head down to the beach.
And even if there wasn't a water tank there, the creek flows to the beach there, and that water is drinkable.
Yes,
I drank from it, and it was delicious, much better than Franklin River.
I feel like you were having a low base comparison there, John.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a good access point, food drop if you want. People meet your starting point, finishing point. The other thing I will say also, before you get there, there's a section again between Fickerfolia Road and Conspicuous Beach where I saw the most king in his carriage orchids ever. Like I don't think I've seen them once or twice away from there, but in that section when I was walking through there in late August, September. Yeah, loads of them all through that little section. So something to keep an eye out for.
Excellent, because I'll be walking there through August this year.
Hey.
Cool.
So is there much walking on Conspicuous Beach before you get to the dunes and the heathlands again?
No, it's about 200 metres. It's not very long.
Yeah, so it's kind of a preparation for further on, but not really. It doesn't stretch into the kilometres.
False sense of, this is easy.
And then so Dune Heathlands and then up to the Limestone Cliffs, which is a very impressive point on the track, and ocean views and stunning scenery everywhere.
Definitely.
Once you get up there, yep.
We were there in quite windy conditions, but it was cool. I like it. I know the first time I did this, I said to the guys, I said, look, I really am tired and just want to get to the hut. I'm not going to wait for anyone.
Yeah.
What I'll do is I'll blow my whistle to tell you when I'm there, so that you know how far it is. And obviously, I got to the hut, blew the whistle, and I was so far away from them still, because it was still such a long walk, and they just went, no!
Yeah, that was just mean. I think is it 4Ks from something like 4Ks from the beach up to Ramhead campsite,
with a lot of ascending.
With a lot of ascending and dunes as well. It's like soft sand dunes at the very start there. Yeah, and it's actually one of the sections we're looking at to do some major works on, if not a little bit of a realignment as well, because there's quite a bit of erosion around there at the moment. Yeah, but still, like you say, magnificent views from the top of the cliff, and much better than from the lookout platforms that the tourists go to. Conspicuous, right? You're looking down at those, you're thinking, no, this is much better. Because I think your views, you can see Mount Franklin to the north, you can see Mount Clare to the other side of Walpole, and out the other way, I think I've even seen West Cape Power on a clear day from there. So a long way. Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
And Ramehead campsite itself, am I right in saying that the volunteer that now looks after this one used to be a builder and treats it as if it's his own home?
Maybe.
Or is that further towards Albany?
The volunteer that looked after it for a long time is no longer looking after it, and that's fairly recent that they changed hands.
Because
so
there was certainly a fairly skilled topiarist when I was there.
Ah, okay.
Because the bush in your photos looks very square and trimmed as if it's just a hedge. And then it has a few additions that I was like, that does not look like a Bibbulmun shelter. So
when were the photos taken? Do you remember?
Probably about 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think things might have changed since then.
Because the bush that's like right next to Ramehead was like perfectly squared off, nice and neat.
Yeah. I think I know the one you mean, yes. Well, that's part of the quirks of the maintenance volunteers. Everyone's got their own kind of, kind of thing. I don't know. It's fine. The Ramehead was interesting. That was built by volunteers from Mountain Designs. And it was at the time when there was this big, how long will it take you to build a shelter? It'll take us this many hours. Let's see if we can build that, build it quicker. And so there was all this, building them nice and quick. But luckily it's still standing. They didn't take any shortcuts, which is good. But Ramehead campsite, or the shelter, has actually got one thing that only 2 campsites, that being one of them, on the entire track has got, which is that little alcove with the perspex, which is quite handy. For hanging wet clothes or banishing snorers or
in the dirt.
Yep. That's right. So slightly different design, Nornal style.
Also, I would say this is one of the more mosquito-infested campsites.
There are worse, but yes, it is.
Nullakai's worse.
Yeah. Coming from the north, that's your first, I think, really bad one.
Yeah.
Certainly on the south coast anyway, from that direction. Yeah, agreed, unfortunately. But, that's why I always take my tent.
Yep.
Just before we go on, actually, just one other thing too, just before you reach the campsite, and we'll talk about it again in the next part, but the campsite was on a spur trail. Now you actually walk through it.
Right, so when I did it, it was on the spur trail.
It was on a spur.
And that was why people were like, no!
Yeah.
Okay, so day 4, so Ramehead to Peaceful Bay. We're doing this kind of in a sheltered campsite kind of bit, but Peaceful Bay is a town rather than a campsite. So
town's a bit generous, I think.
Holiday.
It's not
village.
A campsite.
Settlement.
It has a fish and chip shop, so that's good enough for me. And it's only just under 12k, so it's a bit of a weird one to kind of stretch out, because if you go from Ramehead to the next campsite, which is Boat Harbour, you're looking at 34k. So, I mean, most through hikers can probably handle that in one go. But if you
come from the north,
if you're looking to enjoy this section, I think Peaceful Bay is probably your best stop.
I think it's good to stop there.
Yeah. And it looks like a really nice town, and you can get some fish and chips, and you can stay at either the cabins or the caravan park. So, how does the day start off?
So you're following the management track out to start with, downhill for a fair way, but then you get into the undulations not too long after that, and then head kind of inland. It's one of these, that whole section there, and I if going back to Nut Lookout, if you're standing at Nut Lookout and you can see where Peaceful Bay is, and then you look where the track goes, you're thinking, why am I going all the way out there? But when you do get there, you realise why, because of the views and conspicuous and all the rest of it. But the part of the track leaving Ramehead then goes inland, and then kind of reaches the coast. And it never used to. It used to go, and this is what I meant about the spur trail at Rame Head campsite. When you used to leave Rame Head, you'd come back onto the main track and then head almost directly to the coast, and you wouldn't be long before you were down on the beaches.
And I did that back when I first did the track in 2003, and I'm very glad I did, because I think it is better than the current alignment.
Yeah, I would agree in the sense that you're out on the coast, you've got the fresh air, I guess more of a breeze if it's a warm day, better views, just a different experience really. Inland, you don't get many views. It's you kind of in undulations and going through the dune systems. But the reason why it was realigned is because it was just getting washed away all the time, and it was just proving to be a nightmare. And from a safety perspective as well. So it was realigned inland. It still comes out to the coast. It's just not as much as what it used to be.
Because I remember certain beaches, and I said to Alyssa, "Oh, some of these beaches are really beautiful."
You built it up,
and then it didn't happen. And I said, "Oh, there's all these tire stairs as well, and they're not there anymore. None of that's there anymore."
Yeah.
And I said, "Wow, I don't remember it taking so long." And it didn't dawn on me until probably a year later, and I had edition 1 of the guidebook,
yes,
and edition 2, and I went, and looked at them side by side, and they were completely different.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, that realignment happened pretty early on. Yeah, so, but yeah, you go through a section which has got some boardwalk in there. It's one of the sections where at least when I walked in 2013, because it just rained so much that you'd step off the boardwalk into water, walk through water a bit, and then back onto the boardwalk again for a little way. And you could see, because I've walked that section many times. I've walked it in when it hasn't been so wet, but still been wet. You can see that they've put the boardwalk where it mainly gets wet. But the amount of rain we had in 2013, the whole thing was just underwater. Yeah. But then, yeah, like I said, not far beyond that, you get back out onto the coast, and the Gap, the beach that you walk, that's one of my favourite little beaches. It's a really rocky, stony beach that you walk along. It's only very short. You've got to watch out for the king waves and judge when the waves are coming in. But yeah, I like that little beach.
Yeah. I love how this section, because I feel sometimes that there is a certain, when it comes to the coast, and it is probably fair enough because it is dangerous, but there is a slight risk aversion to it being too close. And there's that really great section here where it's just along a rocky shelf.
Yes,
and it feels pretty dangerous because there are waves just crashing not that far away from where you're walking. And I love it. Yeah, it just feels wild. You feel that
raw power of the ocean, don't you? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a really nice spot there. And actually, that little section there reminds me a little bit of the Cape to Cape on that last day near the Cape Lewin Lighthouse down that way, for sure, after Deep Dean.
But rougher though.
Much.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't remember after Deep Dean being that dangerous.
No, I meant in terms of the rock.
So on from the rocky beach, you reach Point Irwin, and you kind of traipse around there for a little bit, and then you're presented with Castle Rock, which WA has a love for the name Castle Rock.
They do.
So there's one in the Parongarops. There's one near, is it Meelup Beach?
Meelup Beach, just east of there. Yep.
What is a Castle Rock anyway?
I don't know. Any rock that sort of juts up.
Yeah.
That doesn't have to look like a castle.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's a nice spot. It's, good views from it as well. Pretty windy at times up there. There hasn't been many times I've been up there. I do that one. In fact, I'll be there again in about 2 weeks on that section. But every time I go up there, you want to stop for a break up the top. And I'm thinking, okay, I've had enough. It's too windy. But really good views. And the other thing is, too, just beyond it, heading towards Peaceful Bay, there is that little seal colony. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
No, I've never seen it.
So not far from the, what's I think on the maps marked as the Kingy Rock car park. There's a little picnic table, I think, there. Not far from that, between that and Castle Rock, there's a colony that they're always there when I go past. I've never not seen them. And they're just lying on their sides in the water with the flipper up, sticking out of the water, waving at you. It's really cool.
Hi, Steve. You're back. You've been waiting.
That's it.
And then into Peaceful Bay itself, you describe it as more of a settlement.
Yeah.
But you can get food there and a place to stay. And, I mean, it has recently been burnt. So hopefully by the time, anyone is listening and then doing the section, it's recovered somewhat. But the playground, that was the famous photos from last year's fires, is the burnt out playground. It's a bit of a shame that it could have been avoided.
Yeah, I haven't seen it since then, since before the fire. But it's but like you say, it's let's see what happens with it and how it comes back. It's a nice place. I always stop there. I never double through or anything like that. Either staying, like you say, at the chalets or the caravan park. The chalets tend to close down over winter, which I find a little bit annoying because it's the quiet time. And so then you're left with staying in your tent at the caravan park. Although for a few years, I don't know if it's still there, but they did have an on-site caravan that only ever let out to walkers because it was so terrible.
I remember Jamie Dillon's blog. He talked about it. He said, you know, they were like, this is pretty
dodgy.
crap.
But I prefer it to my tent, particularly if it's bucketing down and thunder and lightning.
Yeah, I was going to say, the only time I'd prefer it to a tent is if it was really raining.
It was really bad. It was the weather was so bad that we had to walk through a moat to get to the caravan. Okay, so we thought, well, that's worth it. It's better than putting up the tent in the moat.
I think it's worth saying, though, that Peaceful Bay, because especially you've been through some pretty wild beaches. I wouldn't swim at Conspicuous Beach.
No.
I wouldn't swim at a lot of the beaches along here, but you can swim quite safely in Peaceful Bay.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, good facilities. There is a shop there as well. You know, the supplies aren't fantastic, but if you're stuck, you can get by. But it's also somewhere you can post a food drop too as well.
Cool. And then moving on to day 5. So Peaceful Bay to Boat Harbour. This is the longest day on if you break it up into little sections. So 23 kilometres. And this is where you have the famous Irwin Inlet canoe crossing.
Yep. So this is I'd say this is my favourite day of the whole Bibbulmun Track. I love this day.
Yep.
You know, twice I've done it, and twice I've loved it, and I would give this a 5 out of 5.
This is not a 6 out of 5.
This is interesting because it's always used to be the day I hated the most.
A little asterisk there, though, is the first bit out of town.
There is that. Absolutely. This was, I don't know, this was, for me, one of the days was like, are we there yet? You know, it was just, apart from being just the kilometres, it was, you know, a pretty full-on day. It was, you know, a lot of dune walking, a bit of beach, plus the canoe crossing.
But it's such a diverse day, though.
It is, absolutely. And I've actually changed my mind a little bit in the last few years because I have done it a few more times, and I'm thinking, again, I think it was one of those bad experience days, you know, that just tainted my memory of it.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, the alignment coming out of Peaceful Bay, which I've only actually walked twice, I think, because I lost it. I just could never find my way out of town. I was like, where is this track gone? And I think I then eventually found that hill. There's a flagpole, I think, at the top of it that you walk over and then down.
Yeah, I think
Did you go that way?
Yeah.
I think that's where the track goes.
I've done it the right way once.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you cross the Bitumen Road, which comes into town, and then you walk along, and there's a section through there before you cross Peaceful Bay Road again, which gets inundated in winter. There's and I'm not just talking still water; it actually flows pretty fast sometimes through there. So we're looking at a bit of a realignment because of that. And then, of course, you've got the scenic part, which is the Peaceful Bay tip. And yeah, I don't know if you've read what I wrote about it in the guidebook. I did draw people's attention to it, and I said it's just a nice reminder of people's consumption in this world. I thought, yeah, okay, let's put a positive spin on it. Yeah. I struggled. I had to dig deep for that one.
Yeah, that's a bit of a stretch, Steve.
But then, you passed it and away you go. So in terms of, we're still looking at options in terms of a realignment, but there's not many places you can go, especially to get away from that inundation there.
To be honest, just along the road is perfectly fine.
Well, that might be like a winter option, so that might just be it. But, you know, it's not... It's a bit of a distance to walk along the bitumen there, so it's not ideal. But yeah, but then once you got past that, then you're on your way to the inlet.
I remember this first bit, it was like hedges with just spider webs
Right. Yes.
All across there.
Yeah. Early morning walk.
Yeah. Oh, actually, it wasn't that early morning.
No?
Just no one had
Ah,
come
no,
through.
before you. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was just like, yep, just walked into a spider web. Yep, another spider web.
I,
You could
Even-
be a spider don by now.
Magic powers. Yeah, I quite like the peppermint thickets a bit further on beyond that.
Yeah.
As you're walking almost parallel to the inlet, I think by that stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, really nice kind of undercover area. And I don't know if you noticed, but there are a couple of old foundations not far from the boat shed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've no idea what was going on there, whether it was someone's house or another boat shed. I'm not sure.
Would have been quite a nice house.
Yeah,
If it was
would
right
have
by
been.
the water.
Mind you, I wonder if it got flooded out much. Maybe that's why it's not there anymore.
Also a bit smelly as well.
Yeah, and then you get to one of the really cool parts of the track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is one that everyone enjoys just for the spectacle of it. You've got a boathouse either
Not
side.
everyone.
Not everyone. So we got some frantic group chat messages from our friend Bonnie who was trying to do this. It was a couple of months ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it was a really windy day and there wasn't many canoes out, and she just had like the biggest struggle, and she couldn't figure it out herself as to why she couldn't get across in the canoe. She kept getting blown down and having to get out and all of this, but I mean, you had a good time when you did it, didn't you?
I've done this twice and I've loved it. And I had to do like the the canoe shuffle to put the right amount on both sides, and wasn't hard. But I think I can imagine on a really tough day when it's super windy, it would be tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can be. I've had a few different conditions, and a couple of times I've almost hollered for the people fishing in their dinghy to come give us a tow because we get so much blown off course so much. But I've crossed that inlet. I don't know how many times. I remember one particular time when we had a group with us, I crossed it 7 times, maybe 9 times. I'm not sure. It has to be the odd number, I guess. Otherwise, I'd still be back on the other side.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it's unique. It's a different part. People always, when I tell people about, there's a canoe crossing, their eyes light up. They go, right, you have to use canoes. And I go, yeah, that's part of it. And that's what I don't understand about people that take the shortcut down the beach. It's like you're missing out on this really cool part, plus other bits around it too, not just the canoe crossing. But yeah, most of the time it's not difficult. It's about 120 meters across. If you are an ultralight hiker, you might struggle a bit more because the weight of my pack keeps the nose down on the front, and so that if the wind's blowing, I don't get blown that much off course. So that might be part of some of people's problems. I don't know.
They can
But,
experience a struggle once.
That's right.
But in terms of the canoe numbers, originally there was a lot more than there now. Does whoever's looking after them, DBCA, do they monitor the numbers and replenish them, or is it just kind of if they get blown out, that's it?
So currently there are 6 canoes, so we aim to have 3 on either side. I don't know that there were more. Do you remember being more there?
I remember, Donovan, you said there was 10 at one stage, 8 or 10.
I remember when in 2003, there weren't 10, but there were a lot. I remember there being a lot more. But then the last time I was there, I'd emailed Gwen about it, and she said that one had been stolen,
Yes,
and
that
that
did
one
happen.
had just been left on the shore, and had blown off. Either upstream or downstream.
It blew out towards the mouth.
So because of that, there were just very few, and I had to do a lot more shuffles because there were just not enough.
Because the shed's really only set up for 4 maximum. Either side. So, I don't ever remember seeing more. I know that we had a whole lot delivered when we did the 10th anniversary walk because there's so many of us trying to get across, and it would have taken too long. But yeah, I've always seemed to remember 3 on each side. But yeah, I'm happy to be corrected on that. But so from time to time, like you said, they've gone missing, and we've replaced them. And sometimes we've had donations to do that, which is great. And also to replace paddles that have broken or floated off, or
So originally there used to be a code for them, wasn't there?
There never was.
Oh,
No,
that was just a thing.
It was the intention. So in the old guidebook, it says you have to get the code from the caretaker in Peaceful Bay and
Yeah,
also at
because
the
I
Parry
never
Beach.
got the code. And we were fine.
Yeah, it never happened. It never happened. That was the intention because people were worried about them getting stolen. But, it's just one occasion that's happened, so
Yeah.
it's been pretty good.
That's pretty good for
is.
such a long period of
20
time.
plus years. So,
Yeah.
about that. So, that's really cool. And the fact is that, the locals know they're there, and if they see one going somewhere, they'll pick it up and tow it back if they're on a boat, so it's pretty cool. Yeah.
I think I'm glad that they chose canoes and not rowboats because so on the South Coast track in Tassie they have rowboats.
They do.
And I think that rowboats are considerably worse technology than a kayak.
Apart from the fact that you're going backwards.
Yeah.
You can't see where you're going. Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think they're probably as stable. Maybe it depends how many people you put in it, I guess. But the canoes, I love them. They're handy. They're just like I said, a quirky part of the track.
Yeah, certainly memorable for everyone that does it.
Yeah.
And then moving on from there, we've got a place which I had to double check when I was reading it. It's called the Showgrounds, isn't it? But it's not actually
There's
like Claremont Showgrounds.
No sideshow alley, no fairy floss.
But it is a naturally occurring kind of grassy plain area.
Yeah, it looks like a savanna in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Some of these bowls, really, isn't it? It's a big open bowl and open areas where
A lot of kangaroos.
And apparently emus, but I don't think I've ever seen one in there.
Neither.
But definitely a lot of roos, interesting vegetation types, and it's been a little while since I've been through there, but I think pretty much every time I've gone through, there's been little plots where you can doing research.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think, again, a nice section. We've done a bit of realigning through there fairly recently, in the last year or so. Again, some erosion. The track was aligned over this great big hill, and there was no point to it. You didn't get any views or anything like that, but it just caused erosion. So just around those kind of things. And then, not far before you hit the beach again.
It's cool because it's such a different landscape.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it doesn't last very long.
Yeah.
I mean, it is still quite a fair length of time.
Yeah.
It's quite a long day.
Yeah.
But it just is a cool, different thing to see.
And I still think that beats walking along the beach, because you're going to walk along the beach anyway.
100%. Yep.
Yeah.
And I guess that's kind of a theme to this section, is the balance between dune and coastal walking and just straight out beach walking. Because, it was discussed in the next day, sometimes the longer stretches of beaches aren't quite the best.
Yep.
We'll talk about that a bit later. So after the beach walking, you kind of get into more dunes and the coastal cliffs again. More spectacular views.
Well, we should talk about the beach walking. The sea container was there in 2003. There's like a door from a sea container that's right on the beach.
Right.
And it was there in 2003.
Yeah.
And it's still there to this day.
I've not seen it.
It's near the...
Oh, hang on. Near one of the headlands?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I do know the one you mean.
And
yes.
it's just a weird, quirky feature of the track that I remembered vividly from 2003, and I was so excited to see it again.
Still there?
And I think Quarram Beach is really beautiful.
Yeah, it is nice.
It's a bit sort of an underrated beach because it's not William Bay.
Yeah.
It's not one of those beaches.
Yeah.
But I find the walking here to be enjoyable. The beach walking's fine.
Yeah, as long as you're not, getting the really soft sand the whole way.
Yeah.
So it depends on the tide level and what's happened before you've got there. But yeah, I agree. And it comes up off the beach here and there, so you get onto middle Quarram Beach after that.
Yep.
After Big Quarram, and so you've got places where you get respite from the sand if you need it. Yeah. And then not long after that, I think you go up this massive, great big staircase.
Yes.
Which wasn't always there, and I was so glad to see that after it had been built, because it was just walking up steep dune, soft sand.
It wasn't there in 2003, but it was there when we did it in 2015.
Yep.
And it's a good change.
Made a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why I didn't like that section when I first did it.
Right.
It was just a slog. It was, like I said, it was one of those days, are we there yet? Yeah.
And then sort of coastal cliffs once you reach the top of this staircase, and then you move on to the campsite, which lovely ocean views. And looking at the pictures, it just seems like one of those spots that you imagine the campsite would be if you were to put one on this section of the track.
The views you get are mainly before you reach the campsite, as you approach it. So the campsite, a lot of the photos you'll see of that one, the campsite's in front, in the foreground of the photo.
Yep.
But once you're at the campsite or at the shelter, at least there isn't much because it's protected. It's sunken a little bit. But yeah, the views as you approach are outstanding. Plus, also you're going, oh, there it is at last.
And I love that bit just before you get down to the campsite. There's these dunes that are like just on the cliff edge.
Yep.
And it's so dangerous because you could easily just be tricked into going just a little bit too far. But I love it because it has this wild beauty about it.
It's Danger Don.
It's like you're waiting to collect like bodies at the bottom. You're like, what farm I produce?
It's because it's so cool. It's just this dune, and it literally is right on the cliff edge.
Yeah. The other thing I like about that section there, particularly the next morning, I guess, when you wake up, the kangaroos all through the scrub there, feeding in the morning in particular, and they're just their heads sticking up, or their ears, sometimes that's all you see. I think it's just really cool. All through there is just a reminder that there is a lot of wildlife around.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, Boat Harbour campsite. Not one of my favourite. It's okay. It's better since they put the wood chips in.
Well, I guess the good thing about it is if you did want to go to Boat Harbour, it's only a short walk. So that's a positive.
It is.
And it's a fairly sheltered bay. Most of the time it's okay.
Yeah. I've swum there a few times.
Yeah.
It's really nice. Chucked all the gear at the campsite and walked down. It's only about 400 metres.
Yeah. So that's a nice thing. And there's a second toilet nearby as well.
There is. and I guess it's one of those informal campgrounds too down there, so you will get fishermen coming in on the four-wheel drive track. I did have the experience where there were some people swimming there and they didn't realise the Bibbulmun Track was there, and they decided to get changed next to their car. And we were walking as a group. After their morning swim, we were heading out and... Surprise! Yeah.
Good day, ma'am. Good day, sir. Lovely day for it. Okay, so Boat Harbour, not the best campsite in the world.
It's fine.
It's okay.
Fine.
Yeah.
And actually,
I think there was worse ones, but yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I might get you, Don, to clarify just your thoughts about why this is your favourite day on the track.
It just has... Okay, I think it's a very wild experience. There's not a lot of road walking. And when I say road, I mean unsealed track as well. That is, twice 2 cars wide. There's not a lot of that. It feels remote. And to me, it represents a lot of what I love about the south coast of Western Australia. So for that reason, to me, this is a day that, if I would say, is a sort of an exemplary day for the south coast sections. There's not anything where there's like a 7Ks of beach walking that kind of maybe mars the day slightly, or alignment where I remember there being a nice alignment and now it's not as good. So for that reason, I just really love this day. And I think I would happily do this again, even though it's such a long day. And quite a tough day because of all the dune walking.
Oh, yeah, cool. So you talk about 7Ks of beach walking. We get on to Boat Harbour to William Bay, which is just over 20Ks, and does include the beach walk. We'll get onto that. So walking down from the shelter, you actually reach Boat Harbour, which looks actually quite pretty from the photos.
It
and
is.
as you say, quite a good swimming beach as well.
It's it doesn't take you long to get there, as I said. You walk onto the beach, you walk around the harbour for a little bit, and then there's a spot where people get a bit geographically embarrassed, including me. I went the wrong way, but I had previous experience to correct myself, because what had happened in 2013 when we went through, for some reason, I don't know what happened there, but the markers on the posts were actually pulled out from where they were supposed to be and moved onto the vehicle tracks, because you're not supposed to follow the vehicle track all the way out. You kind of hop onto the vehicle track initially once you leave the beach. but then you swing to the right, in other words, go south, and you follow the edge of the harbour right to the waters, the Southern Ocean, and walk along the rocks. That's the way you're supposed to go. But someone had moved a post, and so you ended up walking, well, if you followed the woggles, you'd end up walking a lot more on the vehicle tracks, which isn't the way to go. So I'm not sure what happened there. But we've got a really nice photo of these three ladies walking along the rocks there. And the waves had been washing up before, so the pools were all full, and really, really nice photo. And it's one of those photos, if you turn it upside down, it still looks right because of their reflection in the pool.
Yeah, nice.
So a lovely little section there. Just if you get the right trail. But like I said, you still have to walk on some of the vehicle tracks to start with, and you do need to be careful because there are four-wheel drives through there. The fishermen go through there. But once you pass that, it's pretty nice section. Lots of rabbits, I remember.
Never seen rabbits.
Yeah,
there.
just in that informal campground near the boat
Right.
harbour itself.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like, well, there's another one.
Are you sure you weren't like Dr. Doolittle in a
You just attract all the animals, Steve.
Yeah, that's it. That's what's going on.
They just talk to each other like, Steve's coming, everyone get out.
And he's vegetarian.
Like, just
We're
steal all
safe.
their food. So, leaving Boat Harbour, I've got here in my notes, it's a sandy ascent. Is that more dune walking? Is that more difficult, leading on to a more difficult section in the day?
Yes. There is another staircase there, another wooden staircase, not long after you leave the beach. But I seem to remember some tyres along there too before you get to that staircase. So there's a bit of, dune walking there. And I think it's one of the sections you've also got to be careful about the beach exit, because I think some people have missed it in the past on that section there. But it depends if it's been washed away or not, I guess, the markers. But there is still a bit of ascending to do, and there's another section a little bit further on. I can't remember exactly, but I do remember orange sand. I don't know if that rings a bell for you.
There's that sort of like, it's more like the soil you see like near Margaret River. That
Right.
sort of like, like that. I know what you mean,
pasty
but
kind of-
it's not white sand.
Yeah.
It's that sort
Yeah.
of browny orange colour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a really steep section. It's only short, but it's like, really? But once you're at the top, you're back on kind of a bit of a limestone cliff again at the top there, and you're walking through a limestone area there. So, great views once again once you're at the top there.
I remember both times I did this, it was really heavily raining as well.
Right.
So it kind of adds to the mood, I think. It kind of gives that wild Southern Ocean coast, that classic
absolutely.
iconic feel, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then from there, it's a lot of heathland, and you enter into more peppermint woodlands, which is a nice change from kind of dunes and beaches
Absolutely.
and everything. It's got a bit more shelter, and it's... And I always associate coastal WA with the smell of the peppermint trees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially on the Cape to Cape, it just...
Yes.
It feels like WA.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the one thing I liked about it, and it's one thing I did put into the guidebooks intentionally, because along a lot of these coastal sections, if you are hit by really bad weather, or really hot weather if you're out there and there's not much protection from the elements, these thickets, the peppermint thickets, are really good to take a bit of cover, have lunch, open your pack up so you can get your things out where it's not when it's bucketing, so it's a bit of protection there. So that's really nice to look forward to, those sections.
I did that on the Bunker Bay loop. It was I think it was Boxing Day.
Right.
I was like, it's not going to rain, and then there's the storms came in.
Wow.
I was like, yep, under the shelter of a peppermint tree, and then there I was just taking shelter. Yeah. And then from here we enter a very famous beach on the track.
Mazzoleti Beach.
Mazzoleti Beach, which is comparable to Deep Dean on the Cape to Cape in its length, which is 7 kilometres of beach walking. So,
I've been unfortunate with this beach.
Yeah.
Deep Dean was perfectly fine to walk on when I did it.
So, 7 kilometres, if you're walking in soft sand, that's a good 2-hour chunk of your life. And the thing,
probably more. If it's soft.
Probably more, yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you can see exactly where you're going.
That's correct.
And that makes it tougher.
That's correct.
So what do you guys recommend to pass the time as you're, let's just say, trudging along?
Well, okay. Before we even get there, I always stop at the Parry campground because that's your kind of entrance point to the Mazzoleti beach. So I always have a good rest there. I've even been on to go for a swim, cool down after the dune work before that, and Mount Hillier and all that before you get down there. And then head along. So look, I don't know, passing the time for me, I've had a lot of different experiences on that beach. I've had a excellent walk where the entire beach has been firm and the wind's been behind me, and a strong wind too, so it's blinding me along to William Bay, which is great. And of course the Parry Inlet being completely formed, the sandbar, so no issue there, I guess. But I have had times when it's been soft sand. The thing about Mazzoleti, I find that and this kind of goes for some of the other beaches too, you'll find parts of it starts off really firm and it's good, then it just, as it curves around and the weather hits it a different direction,
that middle bit's always the worst.
Soft. Yeah, that's right. So it just depends, I guess, on your experience again.
Yeah.
But, passing the time, if you're not with other people, then plug in the music and away you go. Yeah.
So
what did you and Alyssa talk about for 2 hours?
So the first time I did this was with friends. The inlet the sandbar was closed, so it was fairly easy in that regard. However, we had a friend who joined us from Peaceful Bay who was an inexperienced hiker, as we all were, but more so because we had a few days under the belt.
Yeah.
Another friend had not broken in his shoes.
Ouch.
So I remember on this day, there was one guy in our group who was really fast, and he was a little bit ahead of us. And then myself and another friend were maybe, 30 meters behind him. And then way in the distance were our two friends were like little specks in the distance. And the second time I walked it, I was determined to finish it. And I always walk it probably a little bit faster than Alyssa when it comes to this sort of stuff. And this was, like falling in knee deep into sand.
Wow.
That's how bad the sand was. So it was a trudge, but I was, determined to finish it. And at one point, I'd walked so far ahead, Alyssa was like quite a way back. And then when I waited and she came up to me, she said, "Treachery! You left me behind!" And because normally it's okay if I'm a little bit ahead, but this was, I was way ahead.
Yeah.
So, we finished it together after that point. But, the whole middle section of the beach, I pretty much just powered through.
Yeah.
And, probably shouldn't have.
You do get in that zone, though, right? And if you don't, sometimes there is just that will to get it finished.
Yeah.
But yeah. And the Parry Inlet, too, it's one of the lesser, it's one of the inlets you don't have to worry as much, I think. It's most of the time the sandbars form, but if it's not much more than ankle deep, unless I'm walking through in 2013 and it's waist deep. It's like I've never seen it that deep. It's like, what? But the water there, it was all ocean water too, so it was warm. It wasn't cold like the Torbay Inlet, which can be really cold to cross.
I've crossed Torbay in chest deep water.
Right, yes, that's it. But it's part of the fun too. I've never had to walk the alternate route around,
neither,
because the beach has been closed, which is lucky because that's all on Bibbulmun Road all the way around. So
and very long.
It is long, yeah, indeed. You look at the map and you think, what? I'll just stay the night at Parry and get a lift. Yeah. Oh, and the other thing I'd say about the caravan park there, so this is one of the sections, Peaceful Bay through to Denmark, where I really think when the track was built, they should have put a fourth campsite in, an extra campsite in, I should say, to make it 4 days. I think those days are a bit too long for a lot of people, so just to shorten that Peaceful Bay to Denmark section, each day, having that extra campsite would have been good. So because it doesn't have that extra campsite, some people do choose to stay at Parry's. you need your tent. There's no, it's just a campground. There's nothing special there.
Nice peppermint trees, though.
Very nice peppermint trees. And as long as it's not Easter or school holidays, then you're okay. But go at that time and it's just packed. So just be aware. But I've always stopped there, had a bit of a break, certainly had lunch, depending which way I was going. Certainly going the direction we're talking. I've always stopped there for lunch. Nice spot. I've had a swim, even had a freshwater shower, a cold shower, but that's good too. And on some occasions, I've been invited into the caretaker's house and had cake. So, yeah, very lucky.
So we've talked about the harshness of Mazzoleti Beach. The stairs out, are they like a shining beacon of joy?
A shining beacon of what?
They're a shining beacon of mediocrity and semi-not existing.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, it's another one of these areas where we've had really bad washaways many times. So we've had wooden steps there. We've had a steel ladder, and I think I've been told that's still there. If you can see it buried under some of the sand, but to get up to where the track is there before you get to Greens Pool, because that's the alignment according to the maps. But in the last year's winter, it got washed away again. So I'm not quite sure what the state of it is at the moment. So a lot of people going north-south choose to walk onto Greens Pool and then find their way that way. People coming the other way, it's not really an issue because they just come down on the sand. Yeah, but it's one of those tricky ones where the markers get washed away, the big poles, and the ascent becomes really difficult. Not sure what the answer is to that one. It's a hard one. I would like to see something. I actually thought the chain ladder would have stood the test of time, because I've seen that same kind of thing on the South Coast track in Tassie where it's worked quite well. So I would have thought that would have been okay. But
it is there, but the dune below it has washed away.
Right, so it's hard to get to.
So it's sort of just hanging on the side, and
yeah. So I think the best thing to do would be provide an option depending on what's happened there. So great if you can do that, but if you can't, then the other alternative would be to walk to William Bay itself and Greens Pool, and then have an appropriate exit from there to the track would be good.
It almost seems crazy that you're so close to Greens Pool and you don't go there.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I did this in 2003, I told all my friends, we're going to go to William Bay. And then we didn't go to Greens Pool.
Yeah.
And that just seems like a really weird decision.
I guess there's a couple of ways of looking at it, because I've had a conversation fairly recently actually with an end-to-ender who was from New South Wales and also raised that same point. And I said, well, I actually get some feedback from the other side of the coin where they know how popular Greens Pool is, and if you're walking there on holidays, you just want to avoid all those people in the cars in the car park, etc. So they're actually thankful that it doesn't go there in a way.
Right.
So there's pros and cons, I guess. It is, I don't disagree, it's a lovely spot, and if you are not from WA and you miss it and it's not busy, then I think so. That's why I kind of also think having that alternative route is a good thing.
I think dealing with it, and this is something that I think the Bib could probably do a bit better at, is the way that on the overland track in Tassie, they have all the side trips. So if you don't want to do it, they're optional.
Yeah, that's right.
And if you had a sign there that said Greens Pool this way, then maybe that would be a good way to give people the option.
Yeah.
And so that people who don't know that it's there know that it is an option that they could do.
Yeah. So it is an option on the website, but having an option on the map too, would be a good thing. I guess also the other thing is that there's a pretty major redevelopment planned for that whole car park and recreation area within the national park there, because it gets so busy and it's almost becoming a little bit dangerous because there's only the one entry and exit point, and if there were to be a fire or something when it's summer and it's the most popular time of year, then people getting out would be an issue. So within that redevelopment, we're also looking at developing a proper trail which takes people from the beach away from the car park and then up to the main trail.
Yeah.
Maybe a William Bay circuit.
Oh,
maybe.
Yes, a certain idea that someone had.
So that'll also incorporate the Mundabiddi as well, and how that works in, and any other potential circuit trail.
Cool.
Maybe.
So William Bay campsite, How far away is that from Greens Pool, and is it kind of a viable option if you get to the end of the day and you want to go for a bit of a swim?
No.
No, it's too far.
It's surprisingly far.
Okay.
And not just that, it's up a great big hill.
So that they made a mention of this in the management plan for William Bay, that it is very far, and people get confused because they think there's a campground that is like a regular person's campground where they can drive
car
their car.
people's campground.
A car person's one. And so there was talk in the management plan that they wanted to rename it to Tower Hill, so that it was clear that it wasn't the same place.
Yep. Yeah, I can see, depending where it appears, people could get confused. But it's not worth, once you get to the campsite, you just stay there. You don't go all the way back. It's more than a kilometre to Greens Pool itself. And up that great big steep hill. So
have a swim first and then finish your day.
If that's what you want to do. I wouldn't,
Okay.
but good views from the campsite.
Yeah, very nice
There's
views.
Lookouts there up on the rocks. Yeah, it's a lovely. I actually quite like that campsite. It's pulled back away from the views, so it's a little bit sunken to protect itself, but you're not far from the lookout at all.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it's a really good campsite, and when I always feel like when that the next day is a town as well. It's a nice campsite that you don't feel like, oh, this is so much lesser than a town.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. And speaking of the final day, so we'll move on to the walk into Denmark. 20 Ks, and probably a bit of a mixed bag, but also a bit of an unexpected return to the Karri Forest too.
So I'd say 2/3 of this day are like 5 out of 5, and the last bit is 1 out of 5.
Oh, yeah. We'll get to this because this is quite a raging issue when it comes to the Bibbulmun Track. So we'll save that for, 5 minutes, 10 minutes time. So starting off at William Bay, the campsite, you've got the Mazzoleti Beach Lookout. And Donovan, you mentioned 2 rocks that you were particularly impressed by.
There's like one that's like a shark fin. That's sort of sticking out.
Is that what you call? I call it the mitre, like the bishop's mitre.
Yeah, I can see that.
So it's another mitre peak. I think the other one's in New Zealand. Is that right?
I don't know.
I think there's a mitre peak on the Milford Track. I think I could be wrong.
Okay. I think you're right.
Something like that. But that's what I thought it was. It's a mitre peak. Yeah. But some nice rock formations up there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The one that I really love, though, is the huge one that's in the Karri Forest. There's like the little stunted Karri Forest.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, is one of those things where you go, oh, so this is why you need to walk. Because no one would see this. And
do you mean the one you walk over? Is that the one you mean?
There's the one where you heading out from the campsite, you come down the dunes and then out through, and you enter Karri Forest.
Yes.
And then you walk alongside this one that's like,
I do know the one you mean. I do know the one you mean. Yep.
Awesome.
And
I'm probably exaggerating when I say 30 meters, but it's huge, It's amazing.
It is awesome. And just before you get to that, you're walking along a ridge line, which with great views all the way along that. So, yeah, but you're right. Getting that pocket of Karri, and you think, I thought I was done with that. Cool, it's back.
Yeah. And then there's more further down, but
there is.
But there's more beach walking before
there
then.
Is.
Yeah.
But that particular section too, from the campsite through to Lights Beach, is an excellent. If you're into orchids like I am, it's brilliant for orchids. It's sensational. The fairly uncommon zebra orchid, not far from William Bay campsite, but even when you're passing on that management track along Lake William Road, I think it is along Lake William, the orchids along there are just outstanding. Yeah,
I find wildflowers full stop along that ridge are really good. I've always been impressed by the different flowers that you see.
They are amazing on that ridge line, absolutely.
Cool, something to look out for. So from the ridge line, is it true that you can see Madfish Bay from here?
Yeah, you can see Madfish. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's a shame that it doesn't actually go there, but if you go on the William Bay circuit.
Where do we find this circuit?
On the Long Ways Better website. You can go to Madfish Bay. So I like the Mundabiddy alignment goes a lot closer there.
It does.
But then you miss out on the granite formations, which I think is always a toss up sometimes with these things, and you go to probably a lot more unexplored places on the Bibbulmun. So I think that's a fair trade off.
And some of those granite formations are huge as well, and kind of sets you up for Mount Halliwell a little bit later. But I mean, there's some photos of you looking up at one of the walls, and it's huge, like, and sheer drops as well, not just the granite domes that are common to WA.
And no one would know, you know, you wouldn't know it was there otherwise.
That's right, absolutely. And there's just a little bit further on from that, not far from the lake, there's a creek crossing. I don't know if you remember it, but it's mostly okay to cross. But a lot of people don't realise that if it is flowing and you don't want to get, it can be shin deep, and you don't want to cross there. If you just look to the right, the Mundabiddi's just over there, and they've got a bridge that goes across the creek, and you can kind of duck over that, then get on the other side, keep your feet dry.
Why don't we steal their bridge then? Could be another one of those like joint let's come together trail bridges, like over the Gardner or some of the stuff around Donnelly River.
Well, yeah, it's in the guidebook, so if people are reading the notes, just go for it.
And then reaching Lights Beach.
It's a little reminiscent of Greens Pool in that you've got the rocks jutting out of the water.
Yeah.
And, and it's only a very, very short section of beach that you're walking along there too.
And the trail's nice. I like how it kind of skirts around.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you come down onto the beach, and that's another wash away recently as well, actually, that's eroded a little bit. But then you've got that creek at the bottom of the wooden steps.
On
that section there. So it's always a bit of fun trying to dodge the creek and get onto the first step and keep your feet dry. But then up to the car park itself, there's a little lookout there as well as a toilet. And then beyond that, you start ascending up and get more views.
Yep.
So is this up towards Monkey Rock and the start of Mount Halliwell?
That's a little bit further on. So you've still got a bit of walking through the dune systems. And then you go through private property, through the farmland.
And they have cows walking around.
They have dangerous cows. Yeah, that's we nearly lost access through there because someone complained that not a walker, someone else complained that the cows could be dangerous. And
good God.
that was a while back now. But the farmer was basically told, you've got to put up a great big fence either side to let walkers through. And he went, nah, not doing that. And we went, we don't need a fence.
Yeah.
These cows don't usually charge. But luckily we've still got it. But then you cross the road over a great big stile over the fence. Yep. And then you're going up the hill towards Monkey Rock.
Which is the Sheila Hill Memorial Track.
Yes.
It is. And Lights Beach Road, which you have to cross to get up there, that is now known as the Bibbulmun Track.
Yes. Due to an error in navigation by a certain person who told Mark to park at a certain car park when it wasn't the car park he thought it was.
Right.
So this was going on, 18 months ago now. We walked the Sheila Hill Memorial Track, and my car was having lots of troubles, but I meant to meet you up here anyway because you were down staying with Alyssa's parents.
Yeah.
And you were going to show me this loop trail. It wasn't a loop.
Yeah,
it was a one-way trail, and we had cars at either end. And Donovan, in his typical Donovan driving style, sped down the road from where he told me to park and be like, it's here. But he'd actually parked at the start point, not the end point.
Right. So the car parks at both ends of it look identical. And the Bibbulmun doesn't actually go to the second car park. So I had no idea that second car park existed. So I just said, let's just park near where the Bibbulmun ends. That's where I know. And then we'll drive to the other car park. And we parked at the second car park.
Anyway, so we did the Sheila Hill Memorial Trail, and I got maybe a couple of kilometres from the end. And I looked at my GPS. I was like, this is not taking us where the car was parked. So we had to walk along the Bibbulmun Track, which is reference to an Urban List Perth article they did about great walks in the southwest. And they listed, it was Walpole to Peaceful Bay.
Yeah.
But the only research they'd done is literally just plugged in those two locations into Google and hit the walk button, and they'd taken them across South Coast Highway basically all the way. So it took them 6 hours. And then they'd spelt Bibbulmun, which I see a lot of people do when they're not aware of the Bibbulmun. But yeah, so instead of the 3-day journey it would take, it took 6 hours apparently. And I know Donovan and I have this thing about Urban List being the most hackish clickbait website ever.
Lacking in journalistic integrity.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So that became the running joke, because that article came out like the day before we did this walk.
Yeah.
And then so because Donovan had not parked in the correct location, we had to walk all along Lights Beach Road, along the Bibbulmun, saying, the bus shelters are just as good as the Bibbulmun shelters.
Nice.
So that's where that comes from.
There you go.
But now we've reached the Sheila Hill Memorial Track and the climb up to Monkey Rock, which is a very popular spot for both rock climbers and hikers.
Yeah.
Because of the views that you get from there.
Yeah. Right over the Denmark wind farm, all two of them.
Yeah.
I think it's 2, isn't it? Yeah. But really good views. And one of those points that you get quite a lot along the coast where you stand and go, I was there 3 days ago, or whatever it is. You get that real sense of achievement from those kind of places.
And it's the last, other than the bit that's near the Denmark River, it's the last real, true, granite dome carry forest that you see on the track as well.
Yeah, it's your last experience of the carry, indeed. Yeah, and nice place to stop. I always do that little side track up to the top.
Yep. It's only like 100 meters, 200 meters?
It's not far at all. Yeah, and see all the good for pink fairy orchids up there on the way up, but also the what are they, ornate dragon lizards that dart across the rocks on warmish days. Yeah, that's cool.
And then from there it's up to Mount Halliwell, which you kind of never really know when Mount Halliwell is going to hit. Lots of big granite domes, and you think, oh yeah, that's great, and then you keep walking, there's another one, and it's just like, it's a good world to get lost in, especially with the carries there as well. It's just I mean, coming from what 2 or 3 days worth of beach and coastal walking,
it's refreshing.
Nice,
definitely
a nice change.
And I think that the Sheila Hill Memorial Track should be a top trail. I think it's worthy of that, because I think the quality of the scenery along it is outstanding from start to finish.
Cool.
And a lot of it is due to the fact that it's massive granite and massive carries.
And well maintained as well, because you've got a couple of dieback points there.
You do.
Which is odd for, like, you get dieback points along the trail, but this has very specific ones that are either side of Mount Halliwell, which I think is really important, especially end-to-end hikers who don't really wash their boots day to day. If you picked up anything before then, it's good to get rid of it.
And I think coming from the south is the first ones you see, dieback stations, if you've come from Albany.
Right.
Yeah. But it's a awesome spot up there. I have been up the top there when there's been a bit of whiteout. Not a whole lot, but enough to go, is this where the trail goes? Oh yeah, there it is.
Right.
So got to be a little bit careful, but always take the little spur trail up to the summit as well. Last I was there, the signpost had fallen down, but
I think it's perpetually falling.
Is it?
Yeah, because I was there when we went there. It was down.
It was down.
Really?
And since then, Alyssa and I have gone back, and it's still down.
Yeah. Right.
It's a long way to carry up a replacement.
Yeah. And Kuriyundarup is its Aboriginal name.
Okay. Cool.
Meaning place of bushroos, but I've never seen any bushroos.
No, never.
Yeah.
I will say that this is one of only 2 places that I've had a significant slip and fall.
Oh wow.
And another friend of ours, Didier, also fell on here.
Right.
Granite was slippery.
Yep.
My boots were probably a little worn. So the combination was very bad, and I sprained my wrist.
Ouch.
And then a couple of months later fell again on the same wrist.
In the same place?
Well, in Albany, it was on Albany of all trails, the Luke Penn Walk, which is far from strenuous or difficult. I just put my foot on some wet boardwalk and slipped. And
away you went.
Yeah.
So that where you slipped on Mount Halliwell, is that as you coming down?
Coming down, yeah. Some of those bits are a bit steep, and the granite can be slippery.
And you've got, I think there's only one section. There is only one section now where you're depending which way you're going, pulling yourself up or letting yourself down along the bar, the handlebar kind of thing.
Yeah.
There used to be another section, which isn't far from that, but it's been realigned. You can still find it if you look for it, but it was down this crevasse, where there was another handlebar, if you like, but a really long one, but it was really narrow. I don't know if you walked that before it was realigned. And if your pack was even just slightly wider than you, you would get caught and just get dragged along the rocks. And it's like, oh, my pack! But it's been realigned from that little area. But I love Mount Hallowell. I have seen someone in the register at William Bay call it Mount Holy Hell because they just weren't expecting it.
Yeah.
But I love it. It's a nice spot. Good views as you're coming down on that rocky platform on the eastern side. Views over the inlet and Nalakai. Yeah, nice spot.
I think as well, it's the last great granite, mountain, I say in inverted commas.
Mount.
Because if you think back to Monadnocks and, the Pingarup Plains, this is sort of the last one of those that you see until, there's the one that as you're climbing into Albany.
Mount Melville.
But
it's not really.
No. It's not great.
Yeah.
It doesn't count if there's houses on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then descending down towards Singers Lightspeed Road again. Lots of carry, lots of wildflowers.
Yeah.
And then you're onto the road again. And the bit that you talked about that is not quite ideal and is like a bit of a sore thumb when you're talking about Denmark and the Bibbulmun Track is getting into town and around town as well.
Yeah, so, walking along the inlet is okay. Like, it's acceptable. But then the last bit where you walk through dieback-infested Jarrah, and it's just really bad. And there's one point where the trail is like, there's two roads next to each other, and there's a hole in the the hedge of trees.
Yeah.
And you could have taken that shortcut, but you keep walking, and then the Bibbulmun tells you to
double back.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
just like, why? Why did you do that to us?
When was the last time you walked that bit?
That was 2016, I think.
I had a feeling that had been realigned through that little, what you call a hedgy bit.
I hope so.
I'm not sure, but I thought it had. Because I think I've done that shortcut.
Yeah. Because it's just really boring walking.
It's because you're following fire breaks, and it is pretty degraded bush
like there's
through
a
that
lot
section.
of dieback infested signs through
Yeah.
there or like unsure
Yeah.
not sure, so
Yeah.
it's not great, and especially if you're tired, it's not a nice.
The alternative though is to be on the bitumen or on the footpath.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much of an option around there. There is a lot of what I call burbing, walking through the suburbs when you're going into Denmark from that side. But I know what you mean. And it's pretty open as well. So if it's a hot day, you're in the elements.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not far beyond that, as you're getting closer to the river mouth. I could be wrong, but I think there's a bit of carry around there. And I think that's So
and that was like thank God.
Yeah. Nicer section there. But there is a bit of bitumen walking and pavement walking once you leave the inlet, like you say. But you're walking into a town.
Yeah.
And Denmark as a track town, it's got a reputation in WA as being a bit of a hippie town, but I never quite got that driving.
I don't think it is anymore. I think it was at one stage.
Yeah, maybe like 30 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't think it's more the sea change people, I think, now rather than
So my in-laws live there, and they're there for sea change reasons, and there's a lot, like Anna Gare lives there, and there's a lot of I think Denmark is a town that has a lot of potential to be sort of a Margaret River area, and I think suddenly the wine's as good as we have discovered from the wine that we've been drinking today. But it just for some reason just it hasn't taken off the way that Margaret River has.
I'm kind of thankful that it hasn't actually.
Is it by design though? Do they want it to be like Margaret River but not have that status of Margaret River where people flock there who maybe are looking for that experience, but because they're looking for it they don't get it?
I think they want it both ways. I think that's the difficult thing, is that they probably enjoy the fact that it's a bit quiet, and I think that's part of the charm of Denmark. But then on the other hand, Denmark's a lot more progressive and interested in things than Albany is, where Albany is like, we won't open on Sunday, we won't do this, we won't do that. I think Denmarkshire are much more interested in trying to make their town a vibrant town, but walking the line without losing itself. Like I think they're okay with it being sort of a Margaret River-esque area, but they don't want it to become Dunsborough either. You know, they don't want it to become overdeveloped where it's like a country.
I think that's a good thing for the town.
Yeah, for sure.
And I like it because of the way it is. It's, you know, it's different to the other towns. It's not huge. You can, from the walker's perspective, there's everything you need there. It's pretty good that way, but it's not. You know, it's a kind of town. I don't know. For me, even just walking generally along the track, doing an end to end, I treat the town visits as if I'm walking to an overseas village that I've never been to before, and I like to walk around, spend time there and get to know it. If I've got that luxury, which at least on one of my end-to-ends I did have. I spent 2 or 3 days sometimes in towns, just soaking it all up. And Denmark is one of those places I'd like to do that. Provided it's not the busy time, but then that's summer usually when it does get really busy and you're not usually walking, so it kind of works well for walkers. Plus I've got friends down there too, so that's pretty cool.
I think it's also got a lot of really good food options. So if you want to go for dinner or lunch in town, there's places that are open. There's
the variety.
Choice. There's definitely they've got really good vegetarian and vegan food there, as well as good good pizzas. They've got good bakeries. It's a really good town in a lot of ways, and I think that they bat way above above other towns in the area.
All right, so overall, where does this... I know you don't really like to rank sections, Steve, but overall on the track, where does this rank?
It is one of my favourite sections, absolutely. I think particularly the section between Walpole and Peaceful Bay is one of my highlights. It doesn't mean I don't like the bit between Peaceful Bay and Denmark, but if someone comes to me, particularly if they're not from WA, and say, look, I've only got this amount of time, where should I walk? I will definitely recommend down that way, especially between Walpole and Peaceful Bay, because you get really good mix of the coast, the Tingle Forest, the Karri Forest. It's kind of just all there. But then even beyond, if you want more coast walking, all the way through to Denmark.
And Don, I know this holds a special place.
Oh man, this was the first multi-day hike I did, and I still love it. I've done it again, and it hasn't faded in my esteem. I would say this is one of the best sections of the whole Bibbulmun. It's one of only there's 3 sections that I would just do again and again and again and be fine with doing, and this is the top of those 3. And I think when I've criticized other sections of the track, part of it is that I'm walking it as someone who wants to walk a trail that is, between 3 to 8 days. I'm not looking to do a through hike of a track, and there's certain compromises that come with the through hike, that you're not going to have perfection every day. You're going to have barren roads. However, this section I feel doesn't have those very much. This section is one where you could walk it as an iconic 8-day hike, and it would hold up well compared to other hikes in other states as a fantastic 8-day experience that I would wholeheartedly recommend to anyone coming to Western Australia to do. So I love this section.
Yeah, excellent. I'm looking forward to doing this in August. So if you want to walk it again, I think I've extended the invite out before. I'll send you my dates.
I think I don't have the annual leave, but I am jealous of the fact that you're walking this fantastic section.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks very much, Steve, for coming in. It's always a pleasure to have you in.
Thank you.
And normally we would be finishing here and then be back in 2 weeks, but we'll actually be back next week with a mini episode, because since we have Stephen here, we're going to be doing a little bit of a mini episode about a new hut on the Bibbulmun Track, or shelter on the Bibbulmun Track, since I don't want to put words into Steve's mouth. But thank you everyone for listening, and if you've enjoyed this pod, please give us a rating on Podbean or iTunes, And if you had any suggestions for future episodes or any questions, please email us at realtrailtalk@gmail.com. And we'll be back in 1 week with the next episode. Thanks.